Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our UCEAP Summer Physics Abroad info session. My name is Ana Arellano, and I oversee the Summer Physics Programs at UCLA. We have quite a handful of topics that we will be going over, including a more thorough explanation of what the summer physics programs are. We will review our current programs and explain more about the academics, the eligibility, and the application process. Finally, we will review the finances that are associated with these programs, answer any questions you may have, and we will conclude with the student panel who will share more about their experiences on these programs. So, what is summer physics abroad? The University of California Education Abroad Program, also known as UCEAP, offers 3 distinct programs in which 3 different universities offer their own physics curriculum. This curriculum has been pre-approved by the UCLA Physics Department to satisfy part of the introductory physics series. On the summer physics programs, students will study abroad for 8 weeks between mid-June and mid-August, and as mentioned, can satisfy part of UCLA's introductory physics series. These programs offer 2 physics tracks. On the Physics for Life Science track, students can satisfy Physics 5A and Physics 5B, while those interested in satisfying Physics 1A and Physics 1B can participate on the Physics for Physical Science track. On these programs, students will also enroll in a non-STEM elective that was created specifically for these programs. Here's a visual breakdown of what enrollments on these programs will look like. Students will enroll in 3 courses for the 8 weeks that they are abroad. During the first 4 weeks of the program, students will enroll in 1 physics course and will earn 4 units. The final 4 weeks, students will enroll in the second physics course and earn an additional 4 units. The non-STEM elective is expected to be taken concurrently with the physics courses and can be between 6 to 8 weeks for a total of 4 units. However, we do like to mention that we have not received a syllabi for these courses yet. Students can expect this elective to be a history and/or a culture course that complements their study abroad destination. Once we receive the syllabi for these elective courses, our office will request pre-approval for these courses to satisfy a UCLA GE. We cannot guarantee that this will be approved, but we will definitely try our very best. Since you registered for this event, we will be able to contact you via email, and once we receive more information on this elective, whether it would satisfy GE, we will share this information with you. For those that were already familiar with these programs, I do want to acknowledge that previously Bruins were able to satisfy the complete 5ABC or 1ABC series, but beginning summer 2022, only Physics 5AB and 1AB can be satisfied on these programs. Now, let's look at the 3 UCEAP summer physics programs. First, we have the Dublin Science Engineering Program at University College Dublin, Ireland. Second, we have the Summer in Sussex program at the University of Sussex in England. And finally, we have the Glasgow Science and Engineering program at the University of Glasgow in Scotland. If you are interested in the Physics for Life Science track, you have the 3 program options to choose from. For those interested in the Physics for Physical Science track, only the University of Glasgow offers this track. Now, let's dive in a little more into each university and the campus and what you can expect as a student on these programs. University College Dublin in Ireland is a modern university that feels like the modern sections of UCLA. Think of South Campus or Sunset Village, and it's roughly 25 minutes away from the city center. The residents in Dublin make you feel welcomed, and you can expect a student-friendly atmosphere. In Dublin, you can visit the Stone of Destiny, the Dublin Castle, or you can travel to the famous Cliffs of Moher. Students can expect to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner provided Monday through Friday, and during the weekend, students are responsible for their own meals. At University College Dublin, students will have a room to themselves in a 4-bedroom and 2-bathroom suite. You will have a shared kitchen and dining area, and housing is approximately a 5-minute walk to campus. The University of Sussex in England has a bit of a UC Santa Cruz feel. It's a green campus with 70s architecture, and it's surrounded by forests and the South Downs National Park. The university is located in Brighton, England. Brighton is known for its nightlife, its festivals, and its vibrant music, and it's about an hour away from central London. Here, you can visit the Brighton Pier, the forest, or head to the shopping district of North Lane. Students on this program will receive a cash card that allows them to eat on campus Monday through Friday, and students are responsible for their weekend meals. For housing, students will have a single bedroom and a private bathroom. There would be a communal kitchen, and housing is a short walk from to the classrooms and to the labs. Finally, we have the University of Glasgow. On this campus, you'll travel back in time and you'll be surrounded by the Gothic arched windows. And fun fact, you will walk the walls where Einstein once lectured. The city of Glasgow is famed for its Victorian architecture, and for Harry Potter fans, it was the inspiration for Hogwarts. You can explore the many museums Glasgow offers, or as one of our study abroad returnees did, you can explore the Scottish Highlands. One of our student returnees will be speaking about that later today. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are provided Monday through Friday afternoon, and students are responsible for their meals beginning Friday evening through the Sunday. Students will have a single room and will share a bathroom in a 2 to 5 person residence, and this residence is approximately a 15-minute walk to campus. I like to make note that program information is subject to change. We do not expect any changes, but there may be modifications due to health and safety precautions. We provide the disclaimer in case you are selecting a program based on a particular setup. If you have any questions or concerns about the particular setup of a program, please connect with me. Now let's look at the academics of these programs. A very common question is, which is the easiest? And the answer is none of them. Physics abroad is not the easy way out. These programs are rigorous and they are fast-paced. Your UCEAP courses will factor into your UC GPA, which means that if you unsuccessfully complete one or more courses, you cannot retake them at UCLA to fix your GPA. You can retake them to fulfill the UCLA requirements, but both the UCLA and the UCEAP courses will factor into your GPA. Your UCEAP grades will not just disappear. I'd also like to add that while these programs satisfy the same physics requirements at UCLA, each program is different from one another. Comparing the academic structure, the grading, or the teaching methods of these universities is like comparing UCLA with Berkeley or USC or Stanford. They are each different. In fact, the University of Glasgow has a flipped classroom design. Flipped classroom design entails completing pre-session readings and you're actively participating in the class discussions. There is a strong student-centered learning environment where your contributions to the discussion, they're very vital, and the whole group and to the whole class lessons. On our student panel today, we have a Glasgow returnee who will briefly touch more upon this academic design and what it entails. If you intend to apply to medical school, we can assure you that you will satisfy the UCLA Physics 5AB or 1AB courses, but we cannot guarantee that medical school will accept this credit. Historically, to our knowledge, UCLA students have not had any issues with this curriculum for medical school acceptance, but ultimately it is a student's responsibility to check in with their respective school of interest. I'd also like to add that all coursework from these programs will be converted into UC credit and posted onto your UCLA transcript. If and when medical schools ask for a transcript from the host university, you will only be providing them with your UCLA transcript. There is no host university transcript because all coursework is converted into UC credit. If you receive CAE accommodation at UCLA, our partners may be able to offer equivalent or partial accommodations during your time abroad. For this to happen, you must submit a letter from CAE to UCEAP. UCEAP will then speak with our partners to assess the request. At this time, no action is required. Action will be required after you have been nominated for the program. There are 3 eligibility requirements for these programs. These requirements must be met and maintained from the time of your application and from the time you submit your application until the start of the program. The first eligibility requirement is a GPA requirement. The programs in Dublin and Sussex require a 2.5 cumulative GPA or higher. If you are interested in the University of Glasgow, a GPA of 2.75 is required. The second requirement is maintaining good academic standing, and this is as is defined by your school or your college. Third, you must meet the math prerequisites. Those interested in physics for life science must complete Math 3AB, Math 31AB, or LS 30AB. Those interested in physics for physical science must complete Math 31A, Math 31B, and Math 32A, though we also recommend Math 32B. We are following the same guidelines that UCLA requires to enroll in the physics courses on campus. And to ensure students are successfully completing these courses before the start of their program, the course requirements must be met by the end of winter quarter with a minimum passing grade of a C-. Exceptions to this policy of having them completed by the end of winter 2022 can be considered on a case-by-case basis for students with a GPA of a 3.0 in core STEM courses. If you do not have any core STEM courses completed by the time of your application, we will consider those that are in progress during the fall quarter to assess this application. For our first year applicants, those interested in the physics for physical science track and have yet to begin the math courses, you will be considered for this exception, and you will be continuing to be monitored until your departure to these programs. If you have satisfied any or all of these courses through AP or community college credit, those are accepted. We will accept those for eligibility. And for additional clarification on the prereqs or for the exception or how the exception works, please send me an email. We can have a conversation. I know that's a little bit lengthy, but I do want to clarify this for you if you have any questions. As mentioned, we continue to monitor eligibility until the start of the program. Students can be withdrawn for not meeting any of the 3 requirements. If you have repeated coursework, we recommend you reconsider these programs, or at minimum, we encourage you to test your math skills via the math diagnostic quizzes. This is just to kind of gauge your preparedness for these programs. If you are a first-year student, you most likely do not have an established UC GPA, but you need one to confirm eligibility. Our first-year applicants, you can apply to these programs. When you apply, you will submit an unofficial transcript from UCLA, and this will not have your GPA, but it will have your current fall enrollments, and this will only serve as a placeholder for your application. Once you receive your final grades from the fall term or before January 11th, at the end of the day of January 11th, you must resubmit an unofficial transcript. This time, the unofficial transcript will show your fall grades and your established UC GPA. Please make sure if you are a first-year applicant to mark this on your calendar. A failure to submit this will result in forfeiting your application. Just make sure January 11th, at the end of the day, you resubmit your unofficial transcript. If you expect to graduate this coming spring, you must be an enrolled UCLA student to participate on these programs. Because of this, we encourage you to connect with your academic advisor, whether you're part of the college, honors, AAP, or a school, and speak of the possibility of pushing your expected graduation date from the summer for spring 2022 to summer 2022 instead. If you are able to extend your graduation to summer 2022 and you wish to receive financial aid for these programs, you must complete FAFSA one more time, and this would be for the 2022 to 2023 academic year. Another thing for our expected graduates, please keep in mind that grades can take up to 90 days from the program end date to be received by UCLA. This means that your degree cannot be conferred until all coursework has been applied. This is important to keep in mind just in case you have a job lined up, you're applying to a graduate program. If this is the case, make sure you are in contact with your prospective employer or the admissions office and let them know about the possible delay in your grades and your degree being conferred. I hope we catch your interest in the summer physics programs. If you are interested, now we're going to touch upon the application process and how you can apply. The first step is to note down the important dates and how many spots we have available. Applications will open on Tuesday, October 5th at 9 a.m. and they will remain open until the end of the day on Tuesday, January 11th. While it's a 3-month period when applications are open, these programs have limited capacity and they are first come, first serve. We would encourage interested students to apply early. On screen, we are displaying our total capacity for each of these programs. We have 250 spots available for the University College Dublin program, 133 for the University of Sussex. We have 60 spots available for our Physics for Life Science track at the University of Glasgow, and we have 43 spots available on our Physics for Physical Science track at the University of Glasgow. We do have our UCEAP deadlines page on screen. This would be updated every 48 hours if you want a more up-to-date record of our current available spots. Next, you have to create a UCEAP account to complete both the UCEAP application and the UCLA IEO online questionnaire. The UCLA IEO online questionnaire will be accessible and found on the UCEAP application instructions and requirements. On screen, we have provided the direct link for the UCEAP website where you can access the UCEAP application. After you submit your application, the next step is receiving your nomination. Your nomination is your acceptance into these programs. We expect to receive anywhere from 300 to 400 applications, and it may take time for our office to review your application. Because of this, you will likely hear from me once again before the end of the fall quarter. When you do hear back from me, you will be notified if you were nominated and along with the next steps, or an explanation as to why we could not nominate you at this time. For first-year applicants, you will receive a nomination conditional upon resubmitting your transcript on January 11th. And you're done. You have successfully applied to the summer physics programs. But what happens next? After you submitted your application, what can you expect? Within 48 hours of submitting your application, you may not receive any news or no email, or you may receive an email indicating that you have been placed on a wait list. For those that do not hear anything after 48 hours, no news is good news. If you do not receive an email, this means that we had available spots when we received your application and your application is being reviewed. Within these 48 hours, your application status will change from submitted to campus review on your UCEAP portal. For this reason, it's very important that when you are applying, you enter an email address that you frequently check and that you frequently check that email. After the 48 hours, I will then review applications on a rolling basis to check for eligibility. If you did not receive an email within the 48 hours, you receive an email from me before the end of the fall quarter. I will aim to review applications within the 4 weeks of your submission. There will be a wait from the time you submit your application until you hear back, but provided you meet and maintain the eligibility requirements, you should receive a nomination for the program that you applied to, and you should be participating on that program. So when will you know for sure if you have secured a spot on the program that you applied to? You should know within the 48 hours of submitting your application. If you did not receive an email within those 48 hours and you meet and maintain the eligibility requirements at the time of your submission, you'll know for sure if you have secured a spot. We reviewed our programs, the academics, and the application process. Now let's look at the finances for each of these programs. To get a breakdown of the program finances, we're going to head to the UCEAP program page. Then on the left-hand side menu, we're going to select cost. You will be prompted to the screen that details your estimated expenses. And if you scroll down that page just a little more, you will see what's included in the estimated budget. You can actually customize it as well to kind of reflect more about what you should expect to pay. Let's say you are a UCLA student, you are a California resident, you are not a graduate student, and you are interested in the Physics for Engineers packet at the University of Glasgow. So you will be given your estimate and the breakdown of each of the fees. So now you see your total estimated cost is expected to be $14,148. This total cost includes all fees students are expected to incur while they're abroad. This includes your housing, your meals, your round-trip airfare, your tuition, all those expected fees. While this is your estimate, there can be a give or take amount. For example, let's say you find a flight for $1,000, but they estimated $1,500, so you can already deduct for that $500 from your total customized estimated amount. I went ahead and gathered the total estimated expenses for our UCLA students and created the cost comparison chart. For Dublin, you can expect a total estimated cost of $14,048. For Glasgow, a total estimated cost of $14,148. And for Sussex, a total estimated cost of $14,448. Students can apply their UCLA financial aid to cover the cost of their study abroad program. When we speak about financial aid, we refer to scholarships, to grants, and to loans. I'd like to point out that summer financial aid packages tend to be a little bit more loan heavy, as summer is considered a non-essential term, and grants usually available during the academic year may not be available during the summer. If you are eligible to receive financial aid, you would need to apply for the next academic school year FAFSA, so 2022 to 2023, and no further action will be required besides submitting the FAFSA to receive that financial aid. If you currently have a CalVet waiver, these are applicable for study abroad financial aid. Payment timelines differ for those who expect to receive financial aid versus non-financial aid students. For financial aid students, payments of the first payment of $950 is generally due by April 1st, and the final payments of the remaining balance is due by June 1st. Financial aid students, you are not responsible for any UCEAP payment deadlines until you receive your federal aid. The only payment or payments you will have to make to UCEAP is the amount that is not covered with the financial aid. So let's say you are provided a financial aid package of $14,500, and of that package, $5,000 are in grants, and the rest are in loans, and you only accept the amount in grants. Then you would begin paying payments to UCLA to cover the remaining balance that you did not accept in loans. Independent, if you expect to receive financial aid or not, there can be some early expenses that must be paid upfront. If you expect to receive financial aid, these are still fees you need to pay before receiving your aid. For example, at Glasgow, their housing payment is usually due before their departure. Your airfare, you will need to purchase that on your own. And if you do withdraw after the April 1st deadline, there's generally a minimum withdrawal fee of $500. Now we'd like to provide you with a few sample financial aid packages, and this is just to give you a general idea of what finances may look like. Grant aid can vary from student to student, and it's dependent on many variables. If you have any questions about financial aid packaging, please connect with the UCLA Financial Aid Office. So we can see on screen now that this student who had a rough estimated family contribution of $0 received $5,665 in grants. The remaining balance was roughly $8,000 in loans. A student who had an EFC of $924 received just a little bit less in grants of $4,315. That's roughly $9,000 that they had to pay in loans, or that they received in loan aid. The next student had an EFC of $1,374, and we can see that now that the grants are starting to diminish little by little. This student received $3,600 in grants, which means they had roughly $10,000 in loans. Next student, we had EFC of $3,554, which means they had available grants of $2,600. That's roughly $11,000 in loans. We can see slowly, little by little, they start getting a little bit higher. Finally, an EFC of $6,024 equaled 0 grants, which means your entire program was funded with loans. There are scholarships available to help chip away at the cost of your study abroad program. Scholarships can include federally funded, for example, like the Gilman Scholarship or the UCEAP Global Scholarships. Visit ieo.ucla.edu/scholarships for more information and to see those available opportunities. Now, we're going to go ahead and speak a little bit more about student experiences. We do have a student panel joining us shortly, but before, I'd like to share some of our previous student blogs. Perhaps watching their videos or reading more about the city or the university can give you a little bit more insight about what to expect at that respective university, and it can help you decide on which program to apply to. And now I'd like to shine the spotlight on 2 of our summer physics programs returnees. To our panelists, thank you once again for taking the time this Thursday evening to join us on this info session. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and that way we can transition. Perfect. So to our panelists, thank you once again for joining us today. Before we get started, can I have you just introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, and the program in which you participated on?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name is Kaeli. My pronouns are she and her, and I was in the Physics Study Abroad program in the University of Sussex.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emery. My pronouns are also she, her, and I was in the Physics Abroad program at Glasgow.
Thank you both. So being abroad, one of the ways to get the experience of that culture is through the food. Could you speak to us a little bit more about the food, leaving UCLA residential food outside? How was that like? And what about for those who had any kind of dietary restrictions? And we can begin with Kaylee.
So in regards to food, They had multiple options on the campus, but I would warn you that they don't really know about seasonings. So they did have like vegetarian options and they did have like meat options. It was a lot of pasta that they offered. But in terms of, I know that they were building like a pizza cafeteria type of thing when we were there, but it wasn't built completely yet. But I would say definitely like if you like to season your foods, bring some with you possibly. But yeah, in terms of that, it wasn't like there was nothing to eat. It was just a little plain, but you get a little, like it's different from UCLA because you get a card and it's like a food pass and then you take it to the cafeteria and then that's how you get it by like points. So like you can customize how much you get. You can get only snacks, you can get only breakfast items. So it's more customizable, I think, than at UCLA it would be, in the sense like if you go to the dining hall, it's just like a hall. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions about that, but that's pretty much it.
I have a follow-up question for that, Kaylee. There's no seasoning with the food, but what about, let's say, supermarkets? Do they have the international sections where you can get those spices available if need be?
So in the terms of the seasonings that they have available at supermarkets, there's a supermarket within campus, which is where I mainly did groceries. So there wasn't a huge selection there, but if you rode the bus that takes you into the city, that's when you could actually have access to more spices. But even then, I would say like maybe the most that they have are like a couple of Indian spices, but they don't really have as many as like you would have in the US, where you have a whole load of variety.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaylee. Emery, how was your experience with the food at Glasgow?
Yeah, I would say it was kind of similar. The UK stereotype definitely applied. No offense to anyone who's from the UK, but there wasn't a lot of seasoning. I also am vegan, so I found that to be a bit of a challenge. Los Angeles is kind of a haven for vegans, so I'm a little spoiled here, but definitely got sick of the food in the town and in the school that I could eat. We had an interesting thing. I think it was the first year that they were trying out a meal plan for students. So we ate in the same dining hall all together, essentially breakfast and lunch every day. So that was nice. And the staff in the dining hall were super friendly and very accommodating. So that was lovely. But I did find it to be a little repetitive after a while, especially because it was the first time they'd done it. And that's not really something that they do at University of Glasgow. So yeah, I thought it was doable, but I was definitely, there were some days that I was hungry and I had to especially loosen up when I was traveling on, eating honey. And there were times when I was like, I'm not going to ask the ingredients for this. So
absolutely. And
yeah.
as a vegan student, when you were having to have food at the cafeteria, were there any special requests you had to make, or when you were eating outside, for example, in restaurants, are there any specific like signs that they had, like vegan friendly, or how was the searching for vegan food specifically? I know you mentioned it's a little bit difficult, but how did you navigate it?
Yeah, so in Glasgow, it's a little bit smaller of a city. I mean, in Edinburgh, I found it to be a little bit easier to find vegan options, but Glasgow being a little smaller, you definitely had to ask the waiter at the restaurant or kind of search for it yourself and put in a little extra work. In terms of the dining hall, they didn't have a separate section. It was kind of like one counter that you'd walk up to. And so you go to the end of it and tell them, I'd want the vegan option or vegetarian option. So.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Emery. Thank you, Kaylee. And how was the feasibility of commuting? So from the campus to the city or to your classes and to housing altogether?
I would say that for Sussex, it was really easy to commute. Classes were very close by. The thing is like finding which building is the correct one, since there are students on campus, but it's a lot of international students, so they also don't know where they're going. There is a bus stop on campus that takes you right into the city, and everything is connected to your phone. That's the thing about like England, I would say, is everything is through the phone. They don't really do cash as much, except if you're like in a tourist shop type of thing. Everything is like, they look at you weird if you take out a credit card. Like make sure you have like the Apple Pay like set up. But yes, in terms of traveling, it was really easy. They give you a student discount for being a student for the bus. So in the app, you can do that, and you can get like a pass that if you buy it one way, it's a little more expensive than just buying a 24-hour unlimited pass, and you can go anywhere. So that's what I used to go. And they have Wi-Fi in the buses, so you're able to like keep track of where you're going. I found transportation really easy. And then they also even have, for me, I know that I flew into Heathrow and went all the way down to Sussex, and you guys don't know this yet, but that's a long commute. So there's a train and it takes you right into the city. So even like if you want to travel from, because Sussex is all the way in South England pretty much, if you want to travel from South England into London, like you can take the train there, or there's even buses that will take you there. Like you just have to look for it. So transportation for me personally was very simple once you have a working phone.
Thank you, Emery. And Kaylee, sorry about that. And there's actually one question on the Q&A for Kaylee. How long was the bus ride from the campus to Brighton, specifically to the city center?
I think it was like 15-20 minutes, if I'm right. It wasn't very long. And I actually like met a lot of friends waiting at the bus stop, because everybody, at least my first day there, all of us were new and didn't know each other. So we were like, oh, are you waiting for the bus? Oh, where are you from? And like, I still talk to some of the people now, and it's been 2 years. So definitely the commute is also nice because you get to talk to the people around you and everyone's helpful. But yeah, it was only like 15-20 minutes. But then if you want to go further, like they have different connections where you can go very far. The only thing is they don't tell you, at least when I went there, if there's like a special event, like they have a very big Pride festival there. They don't tell you where the routes close unless like you look at the maps through the website. So I got lost a little bit, but it was easy to navigate afterwards.
That's part of the exploration of a study abroad, I think, getting lost and finding your way back. Thank you, Kaylee. Emery, how was your commuting from campus to housing or the city center?
Yeah, so I was walking in the city, so it was really lovely. My housing was right like on the other side of the Glasgow Botanical Gardens. So every morning I woke up and walked 20 minutes through the Botanical Garden, down like past the shops to get to the university. And it was really lovely. Like it was perfect. The public transportation in the UK in general is just better. Like the ScotRail is great if you want to go to Edinburgh, which is like 40-minute train ride. And also I took it down to London one day, actually, so that's funny. But excuse me, sorry, there's a lot of background noise here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're okay. That's okay.
Okay. And so the underground subway in Glasgow is actually just a circle. So it's just one loop and you get on it going one direction or another, and it will take you to the center of the city at different stops. So that was also very easy to navigate. I also didn't have a SIM card in my phone, so I was taking a lot of screenshots before I left places. And actually now thinking back on it, that probably wasn't very safe because if I got into trouble, I couldn't contact anyone. So I don't recommend that. Try and get cell connection if you can.
I will reiterate what Emery said, that is true. I had the same experience. I don't know why, but I would not recommend it. I think safety is definitely a priority. So make sure you are able to have some connection where you know where you are able to go, or have a map. That way you can find your way through that map. Thank you both. Emery, you participated on the Glasgow program, and sometimes students worry that it can be a little bit scary because of the flipped classroom design. Could you tell us a little bit more about the program, about the flipped classroom design, or any myths that you kind of want to demystify?
Yeah, I actually loved the flipped classroom. I have taken a lot of physics in my time as a student, and this was the only time that I've genuinely enjoyed it. So that is saying something. I found, so pretty much how it goes for those of you who aren't familiar, you do your lectures at home and your readings at home, and then you go and work in groups on your projects or on your questions every day. So that was really nice. You get to know your group really well. They were some of my closest friends in Glasgow. And your TAs that are working with you are all super friendly, and they get to know you really well as well. We would kind of hang out with them outside of school and go out for drinks and things like that. So that was really fun. Also, just to reiterate, like the flipped classroom was such a like transformative experience for me that I'm like suggesting it to a class that I'm in right now instead of this format that we're doing. So I just had a conversation with a professor 3 years later about switching to the flipped classroom because our lecture style wasn't working for the class.
Good.
So.
Good, that's very good initiative. I hope that the professor is okay with that, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Overall, I think with certainty I can say you do recommend it to your students. Just want to confirm that that's a yes.
Yes, for sure.
It to your
Yes.
professor.
Definitely. I loved it. And I know that a lot of my, I think for learning physics, it's a really great format because if you come into problems with a specific task or something you have to do, it's really easy to have a conversation about it as a group.
Awesome, thank you. And now that we're speaking about academics, Kaylee and Emery, by any chance, did you take the MCAT? No, Kaylee says no.
No, I didn't.
Emery says no. Okay, no worries. We had a student, maybe for our students who had a question about if the physics program prepare you well for the MCAT, we can connect you perhaps with another student returnee who can maybe provide more information on the MCAT. Awesome, thank you. Kaylee, at the University of Sussex, you are surrounded by forests by the South Downs National Park. Could you tell us more about the feel for the campus, perhaps the similarities and differences to UCLA, or if it was difficult to adjust to that setting?
So in terms of the campus, I felt like it was like smaller than UCLA in some ways, but the structure was similar where like all the residential stuff is together. And then you take like a little hill down and that's where the cafeteria and like the little grocery store is. They also have like ATMs if you need cash there. And then if you just walk in that same street, that's where the classes all are. It's all pretty centralized. The furthest thing for me personally was when we were going to take our midterm and our final. They made us like walk to a part of campus I didn't even know existed because all the classes are so close to where we lived at least, and they were the new dorm, so it was nice. But yeah, everybody walks in a big heat to the midterm and final, so even if you're lost, don't worry. There's like a migration going there. But in terms of how it is compared to UCLA, I would say UCLA is like harder to walk because it's uphill both ways. UCLA has a lot more buildings. Their buildings are more like spread out a little bit. They're older buildings. It's a lot of like stairs. I didn't look for an elevator, so I don't know how like many elevators there are, but since England is kind of older, like keep that in mind that some places don't necessarily have like the most accessibility there. It was not difficult to adjust for me personally at all. I've never been outside of the country, so like if that gives you a point of reference to in order like about adjustability, I thought it was pretty easy. I think the fact that they all speak English makes it very simple, like because you know the language, you don't have to worry about communicating with anybody. But yeah, the hardest part to adjust to was honestly the food. Everything else is pretty good.
Oh, the plain food. Did you both visit any nearby tourist attractions, or did you mainly stay where you reside? I know you said you traveled up to London, so kind of those big cities, but did you stay mainly by the campus, or did you travel locally a little bit more far out?
Yeah, so Glasgow actually really encouraged this in their program. So our main professor would take us on group hikes on the weekend. And also there were, every couple weekends, there were trips that you could sign up for that would take you on like a day bus up to the Highlands. So I got to see a lot of Scotland through the program. Also, they wouldn't give us homework over the weekends intentionally so that we could travel. So you would finish your test on Friday afternoons, and then you'd pretty much get the whole weekend to explore. So I did Dublin one weekend, and I went to Copenhagen for one weekend, which were just short Ryanair flights away. And that was fantastic, beautiful. And then I also went solo backpacking after my trip ended and went all the way across Europe. So lots of traveling, and the program definitely encouraged it.
Glad.
I also traveled a good amount. The way that they have it, at least when I took the physics classes, it's like one weekend off. The next weekend, you have your midterm because they give you Fridays off in Sussex. So you only have classes Monday through Thursday. So Friday was part of the weekend. So then it's 1 week no test, 1 week a test, 1 week no test, 1 week the final. So that's the way that it was when I took it. So I mainly only traveled on the weekends. I didn't have an exam, but yeah, in the area, there's like a lot of nature to see. So we took the bus, me and some friends, to a thing called Seven Sisters. And it's like cliffs and there's a beach. Just know that the beaches are not sand. They're like rocks. So I don't recommend, if you're thinking that you're gonna be like at a California beach, it is not the same. It's probably just as cold. What else is there over there? Everything is like in Brighton, there's a lot of like centralized little areas that you can go to. Like there's a mall that's very accessible there. That's where I got my phone provider actually. So if you need advice on what phone provider to get, I can also give some insight into that. And then I went to London, to Paris, and I went to Spain. For Paris and stuff, they actually they have buses that pick you up like at a location on campus pretty much, and they go on a ferry. The bus goes on a ferry and you're inside the bus, and then they take you into the city, so you don't ever have to get out of the bus or like make any connections. Like you buy the ticket and there's little pamphlets that they have so that you can do that. They do that specifically for students where they sell you packages so that you can travel and everything's covered, like your stay is covered. The only thing that's not covered is food. Only one meal I think was covered, but I got to see Versailles that way as well. So it was a really cool like opportunity. And yeah, Ryanair is the way to go. It's very cheap flights. If you don't have a set plan, then you can actually go like to a lot of different places. Like they have flights for like $10 sometimes. So it's really up to you how you decide to maximize your time. I didn't study. I mean, I didn't travel after I did it. So I only traveled in between the program.
Thank you. And when it comes to studying, actually, now that you're speaking about that topic, we do have a student question about the workload. How was that? I know you mentioned it gave you time to travel, but when it comes to studying within groups, how was that? Did you study more independently? Are you required to be in those groups? I know for Glasgow specifically, you have the Student Center for Classroom Design, but is it more independent that you choose to work in that? Did you kind of just study with your roommates, or did you explore classmates for that study?
Yeah, my group got to be very close, like I said, and we would all study together at the library. We also studied with people from our our respective dorms, right in the flats. So that was pretty nice. The library at Glasgow is beautiful and really good for group study because there's a lot of like bench tables and beautiful views of the city that you can, do your work in front of. So I found the workload to be okay. Like I said, I have taken a lot of physics, so it's a little bit easier for me coming in with a physics background than some of my peers. But I think, most of them were on all of my trips with me, so I think they were still able to balance it pretty
well. In terms of Sussex, is pretty similar to UCLA, where the professor teaches you and you have to show up to class. They do take attendance and stuff like that, not because like you're required to be there, but because since you're a student who's abroad, if you're missing, they want to know. Like they'll just email you, be like, hey, are you alive? And you're just supposed to like tell them like, oh yeah, I just didn't go to class or whatever. So it's more for safety reasons that they take attendance. At least that's what I noticed. And then you have labs. And in the labs, they're pretty collaborative. At least when I was there, I got assigned a partner, and that's the partner that I worked with the entire program. In terms of how I studied, I did a little bit of group study, but then I also did a lot of independent study because you have like a single dorm type of thing, and then you guys all share like a communal like kitchen. So you each have your own little area. So it was really easy to study on my own when I needed to. It's one of the only times I've ever tried reading a textbook in college, like actually, because the teachers there like expect you to know a little bit, not because like they're not going to teach you, but the teaching style is different from the US. I feel like the US handholds you a little bit more than they did over there. But also the grades are distributed differently over there. So like it accounts for that. But I was definitely prioritizing like maximizing the experience. So I wasn't only studying. I know some people only did that and they reserved all their travel for after the program, but I did not. I wanted to get the most out of the experience.
Thank you, Kaylee. I do want to reiterate both what Emery and Kaylee mentioned, that these programs are rigorous. They do require studying, whether they're independent study, whether you're group focused, you are expected to go to class well prepared. So they both touched on that. That is true. That is correct. Make sure you're well prepared. These are rigorous, fast-paced programs. We have another student question. What were your majors, and were your majors demanding of when you can take these physics classes or these physics programs?
Yeah, I'm an individual major. I'm studying astrobiology, so I have a little bit more flexibility than most people, but I took this after my freshman year, so which I'm sure actually Kelly did too, because we're the only ones who've been able to go. But yeah, I found that it was okay in terms of timing. It was useful to kind of get all of physics out of the way. I know that those requirements have changed since then. Yeah, I can't really speak to specific major requirements, but it does help to take it earlier in your time at UCLA if you have the option, because otherwise you can't really get into upper division courses.
In terms, for me, I'm a nursing major, so I didn't need to take this class. I took it because I wanted to, and I wanted to study abroad. So I was like, if I'm going to take this science class, I might as well do it in a different country. In terms of when I took it, I believe that it was the summer. Yeah, the summer after my freshman year, between the freshman and sophomore year, I believe. I don't know if that was everything. I think that was everything that was asked. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, if it did influence any kind of the class that you took while you were at UCLA.
Yeah, no, I do agree that a lot of the pre-med students took it early on so that they could fit in their schedules. And also if you're planning on taking the MCAT like your junior year, so there's no gap year between college and med school, then it definitely helps prepare you for studying. A lot of people were telling me about that.
Thank you. And just one last one to touch on academics. How much time did you spend studying versus traveling and exploring and just exploring more of the city? If you can estimate an amount.
So I'm thinking back, and I think we used to do 3 hours in the morning in class, 3 hours in the afternoon in class, and then I would spend a couple hours at home doing homework. So maybe 8 hours a day doing physics, which is a lot. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
It is an intensive program. And then the rest of my day was just enjoying the city. So going out for drinks, traveling on the weekends. So mine was similar to Kaylee, where it was mostly Monday through Thursday were those 8 or 9 hour weeks of days of physics. And then Fridays I would be done earlier.
I would say that for me, similar to Emery, the only like difference that I would say is that I had taken physics in high school and some of my classmates had it. So or like AP physics. So at the beginning of the education, the program, I kind of had a general idea of what was happening because I had been introduced to it in the past. And so I dedicated less time to studying then. I would say like I studied maybe like 4 hours maximum, like every day max. When I say max, I mean like probably 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours. And during the beginning, and then once we entered the subjects I didn't know, that's when I had to study more, like Emery did like 8-hour days. So it just depends on how experienced you are with physics, because some of the materials covered you might have been introduced to before in a different physics class.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. And just to wrap up our student panel, I know we've been talking for quite some time, we'll need a water break. What are some highlights of your program and why would you recommend the summer physics programs?
I think a highlight for me was like, this sounds very cliche, but the Scottish people, like they were so kind and sweet. My partner is English, and I actually met him abroad. But the Scots are so much better. And I think my professor was so open and inviting and took us out dancing to like a ceilidh, which I didn't even know. So we did Scottish dancing together. And, you know, we'd go out to drinks with our TAs or they'd take us rock climbing. Like there was a couple weeks where a couple days a week, my entire class would go rock climbing together. So just it was very community oriented, very friendly atmosphere, and they were always looking to go be more than just your professors or your peers. Everyone was really looking to enjoy your summer experience with you.
Okay, I mean, that sounds very heartwarming. I'm happy you enjoyed it. You had a good experience. You're able to travel, and then you met your partner abroad. Kaylee?
I would say that the people that I like got to interact with and study were phenomenal. They were very nice. They're all students like you. I didn't feel like there was the competition that some students have said in the past that they've experienced where people won't help each other for the sake of a grade. I never experienced that. In terms of traveling, everything was so accessible and so much cheaper. The most expensive part is getting to the program. And then once you're there, everything's pretty inexpensive depending how you do it. The TAs, I didn't hang out with them like throughout the entire program, but at the end of the program, there was a specific day to like say bye to them. And so they took like everyone to the bars who came to the program. They're all your age, most likely. Like the TAs are like around in their early 20s. Like I remember I was 20 and they were like 22. So they are younger than the TAs that I think you would see in a normal class. So they're more similar in the sense of like what they can relate to you. I would say that another thing that I liked is Nando's. If you haven't gone to Nando's, that's the only restaurant I had flavor in because it's Portuguese style. So if you need to try a chicken place, Nando's, all my friends hyped it up, and once I had it, I understood. So there's one very close to campus if you take the bus. So keep an eye out for that one.
They just opened one in Glasgow, like down the street from campus when I was there too. So
There we
don't
go.
worry,
We
guys.
have one in both of these locations. Emery and Kaylee, thank you again so much for joining us on this Thursday evening for our info session. And we're going to go ahead and switch back to our PowerPoint presentation. Our student returnees were kind enough to share their email addresses with us. They are currently on screen. If you have any other questions for returnees, please feel free to reach out to them. The subject perhaps includes student returnee questions, just so that they know what this is in regards to. But thank you again, Anne-Marie and Kaylee, for joining us today for speaking about Glasgow and Sussex. We unfortunately could not get our Dublin returnee to join us today, but she did, what's up, a lot of information's happening. There we go. But she was able to share some information about or some advice or recommendations for those interested in participating in the Dublin physics programs. Lupita was the Gilman Scholarship recipient. So if you are interested in applying to the Gilman Scholarship, definitely reach out to her, ask for any advice or any recommendations about the application process. Some recommendations that Lupita had were plan as early as possible, check out the Bruin abroad if you're looking for destinations or food sites when you are already abroad. You want to make sure you're researching the country's weather, making sure you're packing appropriately, the clothes. Make sure you travel light. It's easier to get around, and that way you're able to pack those souvenirs when you're coming back to the United States. And most importantly, as Emery and Kaylee shared, take in the experience and explore the country, explore the university, and just take it all in and really experience it as a study abroad program. But also take the time to focus on your academics as well. Further, if you have any further questions, feel free to send me an email. My email is displayed as well for anything related to the physics programs. If you have more general questions, other programs, or just generally about study abroad, you're more than welcome to email our general inbox, info@ieo.ucla.edu. Right now, we're actually going to take take live questions. If you do have any, I could answer them now currently. And then I can go ahead. I'm going to go down the list from the Q&A function. So if you do have any questions, make sure you're entering them into the Q&A. Our first question that we have is the non-STEM elective required? It will be yes. The STEM elective will be required for Dublin, and specifically, students will be able to select about the specific one of the elective choices. Glasgow, you have one elective choice, and Dublin, you have 4 elective choices to choose from. Glasgow, you have 1, and Sussex is still TBA, but the non-STEM elective will be required, yes. I am taking physics 1A in the current quarter. Do I have to drop it to participate on this program? You don't have to drop it. We strongly encourage you to speak with your academic advisor, your major advisor regarding being able to participate on these programs. You will be receiving credit for physics 1A and 1B. So when you speak with your academic advisor, you want to ensure that you're not receiving duplicate credit. What that means is that because these programs also provide you credit for that 1A, you're not receiving physics 1A abroad and at UCLA. So I encourage you to have a conversation with your academic advisor. Feel free to also send me an email, and that way we can touch a little bit more about this topic and the next steps. How about the accompanying physics lab sessions 4AL and 4BL? So we guarantee that they will be able to satisfy physics 1A and 1B. We encourage you to connect with the physics department to see if the 4AL and 4BL are also included in this respective program. Does the first year GPA exception extend to transfer students? If you do not have established UC GPA, if you do not transfer from another UC institution, it does apply. You will need to resubmit your GPA by the January 11th deadline. If we have completed physics 1A, could we take physics 1B with 2 GE courses? Unfortunately, you cannot. This program is set up to take 2 physics courses, so physics course 1, physics course 2, and the non-STEM elective. So you would need to enroll in those 3 courses during the summer physics programs. We cannot exempt one specific course. What are the dates of the abroad program? Those are still being layered out. We don't have the exact dates just yet, but you can expect it to be from mid-June to mid-August. Once we have more information, these dates, we will relay them to the applicants. How does COVID impact this experience? Will the upcoming trip be more limited, restricted in certain ways? We don't expect changes to the housing and meals that were mentioned earlier. There can be some modifications. For example, housing, it may be not sharing a bathroom with a communal kitchen, or perhaps the cash card, no longer cafeteria. We don't expect any changes. In fact, we actually have fall students abroad now, so there could have been some modifications there. But if there are any restrictions, any limitations, applicants will be notified pre-departure before they go abroad. That way they are aware, but we do not expect any different modifications to these programs, and we do expect them to be in person. How did the grading scale change when they were transferred to UCLA? It's a very good question. So once your program ends, your final grades are sent to UCEAP. UCEAP, then they have their own UC transferable scale, and they are able to convert your program grade into the UC system. So if you want that UC conversion, let me know. We can connect with me, and then we can connect with the academic specialist to see if that conversion is available at this time. How is this program different from UCLA Global Cities? Global Cities is a cohort program, so you will be studying abroad as well in the summer. You will be studying abroad for summer session A and summer session C. On this program, you would be roughly with about 10 UCLA students and in the same classroom with about 10 international students. There's 3 locations you can choose from, so Barcelona and Italy, I believe, are the 2 destinations. And with that, you are selecting your courses. There are some that have been pre-approved to satisfy GEs or diversity requirements. If you want to satisfy major requirements, you would need to speak with your respective departments. The main difference is that on the Global Cities program, you have that liberty to select what kind of courses catches more of your interest, what it is that you want to satisfy, and you will be in a international and local classroom setting in that you're mixed with UCLA international students. UCLA physics programs, you are on these courses to satisfy the physics 5AB or 1AB courses at UCLA, and you will be with respective UC students on this program. I hope that answers the different similarities. If I did not, let me know. We can touch upon it a little bit more. Can you take a language course as well? Not on the summer physics programs. The summer physics programs are strictly the physics 1 course, physics 2, and the STEM elective. Though if you aren't interested in taking a language course, that can be on another program. The language course, the electives, like I mentioned, there's still TBA what the exact topics will be. But once we have that information, we can send that out to you, and perhaps they may touch a little bit on the language at that respective country. Does the first year GPA exemption extend to grants for student anxiety? Did not mark that one. Does the UCLA Study Abroad office have walk-in meetings? Unfortunately, our office is still closed to the public, but we do have virtual drop-ins. They're available Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I will actually be hosting these drop-ins this Monday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you have any questions, join those virtual drop-ins and I can answer them to you right then and there. Does FAFSA provide grants and or financial aid for summer study abroad? Federal aid is available to UCLA students. They would need to apply for FAFSA for the 2022-2023 academic year. Grants and loans are available during the summer, though during the summer they tend to be a little bit more loan heavy. There are grants that are available during the academic year that are not available during the summer. But to speak a little bit more about a financial aid package and what financial aid package you can expect based on just different factors, you can connect with the financial aid office. But to answer more directly your question, yes, grant and loans are available as financial aid on the summer study abroad programs. Can someone restate what was the weekly breakdown and course units? So the first, I believe this is referring to the beginning of the PowerPoint where we break down what to expect in the 8 weeks. If so, the first 4 weeks, you will be taking the Physics 1 course. You will be earning 4 units for that course. The last 4 weeks, you'll be taking Physics Course 2, and you'll be earning an additional 4 units. There would be a third course, the non-STEM elective, that we expect to be anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks that you will take concurrently with the physics courses. And we expect this course to also be 4 units. Once we receive the official confirmation, we will send that your way. Are the physics courses required for the pre-med track? This depends entirely on your major. If they require the Physics 5 ABC or 1 ABC series, that's something that would be major specific, though it's not required, I would say, as a track. Just if you want to just double check, connect with your major advisor to see if these courses are required for in your academic plan. And if so, feel free, we'll welcome you as our summer physics programs. If you have any other questions, feel free to include them into the chat. I'm sorry, through the Q&A. I'm going down the chat now to see if there's anything that I missed. I am wondering why UCLA picked these schools for study abroad for physics. Is that because of the strength of professionals or physics program strength there? This is a partnership created with UCEAP. These are partnerships that were already created prior besides the summer physics program, just as a study abroad program. These universities connected with UCEAP and they established a physics curriculum. There's nothing in specific of why these only and not other UK schools. It was just a partnership with UCEAP specifically. There is a question, what is the application fee? There is no application fee. It's free of cost. You would just submit your application online. Fees generally would begin April 1st. That would be the first payment. If you withdraw after the April 1st withdrawal deadline, there's also a minimum 500 withdrawal fee then, but no fee to apply. You shouldn't expect any fees until at least April 1st. Yes, and actually we have Kaylee. She would like to just share one more thing about her study abroad experience. And then if you have any other chat, we'll take maybe 2 more. Please include them in the Q&A and then we will call it a night. Kaylee, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to give some advice in terms of like managing a SIM card and everything. The process is that you have to get your phone unlocked in the States. And then when you go abroad, the phone plan I used was Voxy phone. And it has a sister company called Vodafone, where I paid $10 a month to have unlimited data. And then I also had like 100 minutes of call and like, I don't know how many for text, but I just mainly used data to like load maps, to be able to call my family through Messenger and stuff. So if you're looking for a phone plan that's pretty reliable, I used Voxy in England and I was able to use it in France and Spain. They allow you to use it for like unlimited as well for no extra fee in those other countries. So I would recommend that one. And then in terms of a credit card or a debit card, the university credit union on campus, actually, if you open a bank account with them, do not charge you conversion fees. So that's what I like to use whenever I was buying stuff. So that way the bank isn't taking some of your money away. The only thing that I would say about the university credit union is that they have like hyper security. So if you try to add it to your Apple Wallet, make sure that you do that early on when you're still like on campus, so that if it blocks you, you can have them help you, because abroad it's kind of hard to call them with the time difference and everything. So those were my 2 little tips for you guys.
Thank you, Kaylee. So it looks like we have 3 more questions and then we'll go ahead and just call it a session. So the first one we have, so study abroad only covers physics 5A and 5B. These summer physics programs will only cover physics 5A and 5B or physics 1A and 1B beginning summer 2022. That is correct. What other STEM programs are happening this summer in Europe for the sciences? We have quite a few. If you're interested in research and internship and selecting course credits, feel free to send me an email directly and we can go ahead and discuss possible options if you're looking into specific region or countries. I know you're looking into Europe, but we do have quite a few. Send me an email and then we can go ahead and discuss a little bit more further based on your study abroad goals if you want to look into interns, research, or courses. Is there a fee for withdrawing before April 1st? There is not. No withdrawal fee. April 1st would be the withdrawal deadline. After April 1st, you're subject to a minimum 500 withdrawal fee. And this is a perfect question to end the session. What is your email? My email is, I believe it's on screen, but I'll spell it out for you because it's quite a handful. So it's going to be 2 A's, A, R as in Robert, E as in engineering, 2 L's as in lizard, A as in Anna, N as in Nancy, O as in Oswaldo, at ieo.ucla.edu. Once again, it's AARELLANO at ieo.ucla.edu. Once again, if any questions, feel free to send me an email. I will be out of the office tomorrow, but I will get those first thing in Monday morning. And once again, I will be hosting virtual drop-ins this Monday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So feel free to join us in as well. Thank you again, and hope you all have a great rest of your night. And thank you again for joining. This session will be, like I mentioned, is recorded and will be available tomorrow on YouTube, and the slides will be posted shortly on our website. Thank you all and have a good rest of your day.